And we are live. What's good, y'all? It's your man DL Saint. Yeah, just jumping in on a random Sunday. Just got back from Miami, and I had to jump on because I got a buddy of mine who I've been trying to get on the platform forever. One of my homeboys from back in the day when we was out there in the trenches in LA. He's still in those trenches. So so yeah, he's standing by to join us. We're gonna have a good talk. You know, y'all know I love talking about Hollywood. And a lot of y'all love asking me questions about it. And this, I'm so happy I got my man here. But before we get into that, man, yo, how was y'all weekend? I hope it was good. I was in Miami, so whenever I'm in Miami, it's good. Like I said before, I love Latina women. I love all women, but I'm like really drawn to Latina women and exotic women. And boy, oh boy, Miami has a bunch of those down there. Those women are so nice, so beautiful, just laying around. I mean, they are everywhere, man. You throw a rock, you might hit one. That's how many of them there are. Don't throw the rock though. I'm not advocating violence. I'm just making funny. But they're everywhere. So whenever I'm in Miami, I'm happy. I was down there kicking it with my people. I was trying to check in with my dudes. Uh, Fresh and Myron and Chris and Big Mo, but they were so busy. They had George Gammon was in there with his Rebel Capitalist uh, forum. Um, and man, so they were busy. Rolo Tomasi was in town. You had Robert Kiyosaki was down there. They had a whole bunch of folks down there. So they were rocking that out. So shout out to Fresh and Fit and brother George Gammon for doing that. Yeah, y'all need to really start getting in on this because they're putting out some real knowledge when it comes to finances, especially now with this recession coming up. How to prepare for stuff like this, how to really make money and prepare for life. You don't learn this in school, bro. You got to learn this from the people who've done it. If you watch that episode, they did an episode, I think it was Friday, where they had these top dogs I'm talking about Fresh and Fit. They had these top dogs at the table. At least two billionaires was at the table, man. And that's who you want to talk to, y'all. Just take that from a person who networks. When you sit down at a table with big money, that's when you want to just shut up and listen. And they will drop gem after gem after gem. So shout out to them. Shout out to Brother George Gammon and Robert Kiyosaki, Fresh and Fit, the whole crew. Rolo Tomasi. Shout out to all y'all. So without further ado, let's get into this. And I know it's a Sunday, so people are going to be joining randomly. So when you catch the replay, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be just as good the second time around. But I just want to introduce to you one of my best friends. We came up in the struggle, y'all, and he's still out there doing it. I have so much respect for him, for what he's doing, his art form, his talent is so layered. The brother is amazing. I don't have enough good words to say about this man. But put your hands together, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. BJ Bales to the show. What's good, man?
Did you
There
really?
he is.
You got an audio board over there?
I got an audio board. Actually, I got 15 little kids sitting here, and I pay them graham crackers, and they clap for me and say
You
yay.
got a studio audience. You pay an animal crackers.
And animal crackers, yo. So BJ, man, yo, good looking out, bro. Thanks for coming through, man. Thanks for
You
coming
man,
through.
it's always good to see family, man. It's been honestly too long since we kicked it, dude. I don't even know how long, but
It's going on 2 years, bro.
it's no good. Well, I haven't
No,
seen you since a pandemic ago. Then,
exactly. It was we kind of all got shut in and shut
right?
out, and I mean, you even had to leave Cali for a little bit. So it's been since then. Plus, you've
Yeah,
been busy. I've been busy. So hey, man, let's start from the very beginning.
let's do it, man.
Who is BJ Bales?
Oh, are you gonna start with that question?
We
All
got to, bro.
right. It's a good question, Don. Maybe you could tell me. Wish I had something cool to say, like what Denzel would say, and everyone's like, "That's good." Um, Honestly, man, I'm just this dorky dude. Grew up in Kansas, and I've got this insane love for comedy. And I think it all started as a kid. It did when I was 8, 9 years old, and watching Jim Carrey movies, and my mom and I would critique them, and that's when all that started. And I think it totally kicked off when my mom bought I mean, keep in mind this is the mid '90s, early '90s. My mom bought a shoulder mounted JVC camcorder, the VHS type. And
Ooh.
then summertime, that's when I started making movies, and I did it for years. And that's where the love of comedy came in. I got this mad love for comedy, man. And that's BJ Bales, you know, and it's been my mistress ever since, you
Uh,
know.
wow. So at 8, 9 years old, you knew you were gonna do this.
I saw a billboard in the back of my mom's car, and I forget who it was, but it was a movie billboard, and it registered with me that wait, people can make a living doing this. And when she bought that camera, man, I mean, we made hundreds of movies. I would write scripts in my mom's room at her desk in
You
pencil.
lying? Wait. You wrote scripts at 8, 9 years old.
They sucked, but like I mean, yeah, they sucked. But I would do it in loose leaf paper with a pen and a pad, and then we would go film them. And all my cousins were reluctant. I'd get my uncles, my aunts, my mom was in one, my grandfather. And then we would share them on Christmas. And as I got older, I realized nobody wanted to see that. No relatives wanted to. They put up with it. But that's what sparked it, man.
Bro. All these years I've known you, I'm just now hearing this story. You know, I need to read some of those scripts. I need to see some of that footage, bro. I don't know why you playing.
I'll
I
send
don't
it.
know why you playing, man. I don't know why.
By the way, salute, man. It's been a minute since we drank a beer together.
It's been way too long, brother. Salute, man.
Salute, man.
And y'all know I hate beers. That's how much I love BJ. I will drink beers with him, and I don't even like beers. But dude, that's crazy. So all right, so you knew elementary school, like at that age, like I'm gonna do this. So what were you like in high school, bro?
I mean, high school was cool, man. Well, it sucked. High school was weird, bro, because, and again, we've never talked about this before. And you and I over the years have gotten into so many conversations. But high school for me was, it was weird because the first 2 years, so freshman, sophomore year, I was a total dork. I did theater, and theater wasn't popular where I came from. You know, it's the jocks and things that were popular. End of sophomore year, heading into junior year, there comes a point, and I think any comedic actor, stand up, anybody who loves performing a comedy in any capacity would tell you there comes a point where you discovered comedy is currency socially. Right. And it happened to me because I was a total outcast. I mean, I was a dork, complete nerd. My sister was going to the cool parties, not me. But then all of a sudden I started acting out in class, and you start getting laughs, and then people high five you in the hallway, or a girl gives you a wink. And I thought, oh man, so I can't be the tough guy in school that like steps up to a fight, but I could probably use my words to get my way. And it started working. And that's where I discovered that was high school. So then junior and senior year, I was oddly popular. But so now you got jocks coming to my plays.
Right. So you weren't popular in the class clown sense. You were popular in the sense that, yo, this cat got some sort of talent. Like he's like the man.
Class clown 100%, but only in junior, senior year. I finally figured out the algorithm or what was social currency. And it clicked. I was like, well, this is my weapon. This is what I have.
Man, did you play any sports?
Not well. But I mean, yeah, you know, that's stupid though, too, because I did play sports, you know, like swim team. I don't know if y'all consider that a sport, really.
I mean, for white folk, that's a sport.
Yeah, it's honky nip. We like that. We like that. Swimming. But I remember playing sports in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go to high school because that's what the popular kids do. They play sports, the guys. And tryouts right before freshman year, everyone hit puberty but me. Ooh. And I got my bell rung, man. You know, I angled drills, everything. And I left early. And that's when I found theater. So in a way, I'm glad I was kind of weak at that point because it put me into the theater. Now, I knew I wanted to do it as a kid, but pursuing theater in high school prepped me for what came later.
Right. And you weren't, I mean, you were probably skinny, but you're not a short guy, right? Like you're 6 feet.
6 foot, yeah.
Right. So, Because I'm surprised you didn't like maybe hoop, play baseball. It sounds like you went out for the football team and they cleaned your clock. You're like, that's it.
Yeah, that was done, man. Theater's a non-contact sport, bro. It works. And I'm no good at the other sports, baseball, basketball. So, but it was a blessing in disguise. Like, even though I was humiliated on the football tryout field, I went to the theater, and that's where it started to get really focused. When you're younger with no structure and you just want to make home movies, but that's when it got structured. My theater teacher was from Juilliard, and he went for it. Like, even as a high schooler, he put you through that.
Oh, so that you got the real. Brother Jason's in the house. What's good, man? Yeah, we sitting here talking to my main man, BJ Bales, man. BJ, I've actually mentioned your name in a couple previous episodes when I'm like, that's how I was talking about getting you on here, because I really wanted to get, as we get into this conversation, we start talking about Hollywood and how it really works.
Sure.
And so yeah, and I think a lot of people are gonna remember that. So I got him. BJ Bales is here in the house, man. Brother Jason, thanks for coming through.
Oh, thanks for having me on, man. I love what you're doing with the podcast. And I think that, obviously you're the ultimate hustler, but you got away with words. So I'm excited to talk to you.
We'll see, bro. We'll see. So and that was a perfect segue. You were talking about your theater experience. What was your first real acting experience in that world, like in high school, or even was it before? Maybe you did some in elementary. But what was the first real stage time you got in that world?
There was, and again, you don't know what you're doing at all. So like, and I grew up in Kansas, keep in mind. So like, there's literally a ceiling there as to what you can do. I mean, there's no industry there really. So it started off with acting classes, and I think I was maybe 11 or 12. I told us what I want to try and do. And my mom's an artist, man. My mom's a bit of a genius. She's not a performer. I mean, she'd be a horrible actor, but she's an artist. Like, she sculpts and she makes jewelry and she does mosaics. And so my mom, every weekend I would go with her to art shows that she would present her work. So when you tell parents that you want to pursue art, I think that can be considered irresponsible or kind of pipe dream silly. And seeing my mom go do it every weekend, she made being an artist okay to me. Now she doesn't care about profit. I do. I'm going to build an empire. We've always talked about this, and that's fine. But she is an artist's artist, and so it bubbled up at that age. And so when I said I wanted to take an acting class, back to your question, she said absolutely, which that was great for a kid who was like really curious about something. And the first actual plays that I did were freshman year in high school, and I was an understudy. I'd get these bit roles. My first lead role was Sherlock Holmes in The Hound of the Baskervilles sophomore year.
You played Sherlock?
I did. I don't know if it was a good one. I don't even know if like the tape exists anymore, but I did.
It does. You just don't want to show me, man. I'm gonna find that fucking.
You're not gonna find nothing.
I'm gonna find that one. Did you go for the accent, man? Tell me.
It was like a modicum of the accents or whatever. But you know what that did, though? It opened my eyes to how much really goes into role prep, and that's only been a lens has been put onto that the further along I've gone as an actor. But you don't know what your preparation is as a kid. You just do it, and the director directs you in theater. And that was the first indicator I had to myself of like, oh, this is harder than you think. Harder than you think.
This ain't just making fart noises in class and getting everybody to laugh at you.
Nah, hit your buddy in the nuts with a wiffle ball bat is what people do on YouTube, all that. But like, this was like, it was a 2-hour play, and I'm 17 years old, 16 years old. So that was my first. And then throughout high school, I ended up doing 16 plays.
Wow.
And in 4 years. And that's what got me to say that next step, I'm going to go to Hollywood.
Now, bro, you know this, but we've never really talked about it. I played the alto sax, right?
I know you do. Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever told you the first time I soloed. There were 2 solos that I will never forget in my life. The very first time I went on stage, I was in middle school, and it was we had the band, and then we had like this little VIP kind of band. It was we talked the band director into letting. It was me, Brent Pifus, and Nate. What was Nate's last name? I think it was Thompson, I think. And Nate played the drums, Brent played the trumpet, I played the saxophone. We got the spirit in front of the whole school. You know that dun 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 dun, dun that song, right?
Oh,
Dun
yeah.
dun dun that song. So we're playing We Got the Spirit. And it's in front of the whole school. And I'm like 8th grader. It's middle school. I'm a cool kid, play sports and all that. No one really knew I played the saxophone. You know, we got it. People were like, "Oh, yay!" You know what I mean? Brett was like the man. Barber, like, I mean, he was a phenom in the streets. He was the man. So we're like, all right, that was cool. 1 year later, we come back to that same stage. Now I'm a freshman in high school. I'm in the high school jazz band, senior jazz band. We come back, same stage, and our lead saxophonist, the number 1 seat, got in trouble or got suspended or something. He wasn't at the show. And there was a song called Ron's Blues. It was basically just blues and B flat. It was like real jazz. It's 1 year later, and Ron's not there, and we're all, the whole band is like, I wonder who's gonna play his solo. And the band director pointed at me. And that's how he used to do it. He would just point. You never know. He would just point to you. You got to go solo. Just programmed. I walked up to the front of the stage, lights. I mean, bro, this is like the real deal. And I played this solo. I don't even know where it came from, man. I didn't know I could play like that. I did not know. And then the crowd just erupts. You know what I mean? It was just like, I could hear my cousin in the back of the audience screaming, "That's my cousin." You know what I mean? And so I told you that story to say this. What was your big moment when you had the lava butterflies and you know what I mean? You're sitting there trying to, like, oh shit, how's this gonna go? Have you ever had that experience?
I mean, butterflies, man, you know, first of all, it doesn't surprise me that you did well. Was that the first time you were put like on the spot live?
First time, bro.
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me because I've known you a long time and you're kind of a wordsmith, man. You got a way with words. You know how to butter the crowd's muffin, all that type of thing. Like you've just always, I can see you doing well with that. The first time, like I mean, the first time I ever did stand up was in Kansas City, but it was one time. And in fact, Rick Ingram was performing there at that time before he moved to LA.
Get the hell out of here. I didn't know this story.
And I worked at Stanford and Sons Comedy Club in a district called Westport. And it's kind of the party district downtown, whatever, KCK. And I got up there and I was horrible. It was awful. And, you know, and at that time I was actually working at that comedy club, one of two that I ended up working at, obviously the Comedy Store later on in life, but I was horrible. And I thought, I'm never doing this again. I mean, I completely self-destructed on stage. And I thought, oh man, I'll just do the audience. I don't need bits. Now leave that to Rick Ingram. You know,
Yeah.
leave lesson learned later. Leave that to a guy like Rick. But it was awful. And I never wanted to be a stand-up. It was just in front of me. That was the time I got butterflies, and then the butterflies turned into be a horrible performance. So I was second guessing the stand-up thing. It was horrible. And that was the first time I ever got nerves. You know, in high school, I think you're too young you probably had nerves, but you're too young and you don't have enough experience to really think, what are people thinking? I think that starts to happen maybe as you get older.
So that didn't bother you in high school with these performances, like getting the lead and playing these roles. It just didn't. You just did it. I guess because of rehearsal, you had such a great band. Well, I guess theater lead. What do you call that? I guess he's the director.
I guess you call it a lead role, and the director's the director. It's no different, I guess. But
he's a teacher, so I guess he's the teacher slant director. He trained you up. It sounds like he trained you up well.
He did, and I think you're right though. Like when you're guided by somebody else, every movie or show or whatever is going to have a director, so that's steering the ship. So as long as you trust the director, which in high school you don't have a choice, it's who you get. But any show you work on, any movie, you just have to simply put your trust in that. And again, the lines are memorized, so that's one thing. Stand up completely threw me the first time. You know, and I give stand-ups all the credit in the world. You and I did stand-up for years together. It's how we met. That's you know, we kept doing it. But I realized over time, and I may be back, but at that time, I wasn't a commentator on life. I was an actor. You know, I always wanted to be an actor, and I was overdoing it. When I was, you remember my stupid shit,
Yes, I do.
like it
Yes,
was
I do.
like so silly, and it really didn't have any. I'm not trying to make an important special. Yeah. Let's not. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't recall it. But yeah, I give tons of stand up, so much credit because of the fact that they're up there. You win, that's on you. You lose, that's on you. A cast is very different. You know, the show sucks. Blame the director.
Blame the writers. Blame the writer room. It's
Whoever
everyone's
else.
fight but yours. Yeah.
As long as you point fingers.
That's it, man. Needs watchers, what's up? Big up, bro. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for stopping by. Yo, Needs. Yo, man, I was checking out some more Grand Seikos in Miami. I was looking at the Omega. Is it the 305? My guy was like really pushing that on me. Looked at some tutors. They don't have any tutors, bro. They're selling the tutors like they were selling the Rolexes. So BJ Needs Watchers has a YouTube channel. This brother talks about timepieces. And dude, you have to go and check him out. You gotta subscribe to him, bro. Because I mean, he can sort you out on any level, bro. Like if you want to, like, I want to start a watch collection, but only have $300. He'll tell you some of the best watches to get for $300. If your budget is $3,000 or $3 million, he'll point you in the right direction. So Needs Watches, thanks for stopping by, bro.
That's big up. I'll check it out.
Yeah, man, he's the man, bro. And like he said, like, yep, he's like crazy with Tudor right now. So Tudor, I don't know where you are with watches, but you've heard of Rolex, right, Bales?
Oh, yeah.
Tudor is made. I guess they're under Rolex. They're owned by the same people, so it's basically a Rolex, but it's not like a Rolex price, and it's a solid Swiss watch. So everyone's been talking about Tudor. Now you can't find them. Because they don't come with that Rolex price tag. So now it's kind of going up. And like watches can be investments. So yeah, bro, good looking out. He also had me looking at some Longines, bro. All right, I'm on that because you told me what to get. So and BJ, this is how it works, man. We have these side conversations going on as we go through this interview, bro. That's why I love this so much, man, because it's like so much going on. But
let me know if you got anybody that specializes in any type of skinny jeans, because I'm trying to switch it up.
I'm sure we'll find some fashion people.
I'm sure.
I will find you a skinny jean expert because where I'm from, I'm sorry, bro. I'm a product of the 80s.
Oh, word. Okay.
We ain't doing nothing skinny, bro. We doing baggy over here, but it is what it is. So you said LA, like like, okay, I'm going to LA. Why did you choose LA? Why not Chicago or New York? Because you're coming from stage at this time, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm in the middle of the country in Kansas, and I think at that time, you got to keep in mind, man. I mean, you know this, but people that are younger than you and I, like, this was 2003. So LA was known as, if you want to do movies and TV, that's where you go. I know some stuff is done in New York, but in Chicago, I just wanted to throw myself into the biggest pond possible. Was that a mistake? I don't know. I mean, like, some people like to graduate to that next level, but what I learned was, okay, you might be getting a lead role in high school. Now you're getting nothing. Like, this competition is serious, and there's no roadmap.
Right.
I mean, if you want to be an architect, there's school, there's a roadmap for you. There isn't one. There's no playbook for it. And thank God for being naive, because I was just full of optimism at that time. And thank God for it, because I don't think, if I was my age now, I'd never move to LA. I'd never do it.
You wouldn't do it. What, out of fear or just?
I don't know. I just don't think that I would make that decision being older than I was then. You're just like, life, you have zero limitations and things like that. But the thing of it is, even growing older, 20 years later, I haven't fallen out of love with comedy.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, you telling me you wouldn't do that, Bales? I mean, what would you do? Be a banker? That's bullshit, bro.
In Kansas, you sell water beds or something, but I don't see myself doing that.
Like, I just don't see you at the community, at the YMCA doing Rapunzel or some shit like that, bro. I just don't see that. And then you working at the car wash. Nah, bro. You would have gone.
if and thank God for art, and thank God for my mom, man, like making it be okay, because I was nervous to come out to her and say I want to be an actor. That's silly, in a lot of ways. And parents, you can hear the eye roll, in a lot of ways. You can hear it. And my mom was, and even since then, all the curveballs, all the letdowns, things that happen in the industry, and all about them, and we'll get into it, I'm sure.
Oh yes.
But my mom's advice was the best. She goes, if you're gonna go to LA, make sure you have no plan B.
Wow.
And she said, treat it like a business. And my mom's a contract negotiator for money. She's an artist because she's an artist. But she said, make sure you have no plan B. And I was getting in trouble in school after I found the value of comedy. I told you, like junior year, I'm always in the principal's office. This is when the class clown kicked in. And they said, basically, in so many words, BJ is never going to get a job because his mind wanders. Come to find out later, I have ADD, so I'm all over the place, right? So I guess I found the right profession to be all over the place. But I'll never forget, that bummed me out because that was a school counselor. You'll never get anywhere if you keep letting your mind wander, all this. And then I'll never forget, my mom sent me back to school after that weekend. And she said, as I got on that damn bus, she said, don't forget to let your mind wander. And that gave me all the permission I needed to just keep being me. Damn. And it was so, it almost saved me, because otherwise I think I might have bottled it.
Damn. That's what's up. And for y'all parents out there, there's no rule book for it. You want to talk about eye roll? I was talking to Mia a couple weeks ago. Mia's 13 and a half now. She's still in middle school. She's doing really well. Yes, sir, bro.
Damn.
Yes, sir. So, like, Mia, what are you gonna do when you grow up? How are you gonna make money? She's like, I don't know. I'm gonna be on Twitch, be a gamer. And I wanted to, inside the internal eye roll was like, oh man, probably as loud, you know what I mean, as a volcano. But I was just like, okay, let's talk about gaming. Let's talk about this. So I was trying to channel your mom in that sense, just to encourage her, man. And it's funny that All or Nothing don't have a plan B. You know who told me to do that in the comedy world?
They told you to have one or not have one?
To not have one. They told me to cut, like, you have to cut loose all of your safety nets. If you're going to do stand-up, you got to, it was Al Magical, bro.
Man, I got great stories about Al, by the way.
Yeah, it was Al. We'll get into it, because, I mean, he was 100 with it. Like, bro, you cannot do this and expect to succeed if you got a net. If you got a safety net, you're never going to make it. And I was like, shit, bro, I'm making well into the 100,000. Nah, I'm not quitting. So it was at that point that I was like, you know what? Comedy is just going to be my hobby, because I'm not willing to do that. And Al just took off.
Well, Al's, he's a product of his own advice. He's disgustingly successful. Couldn't be a nicer dude.
Oh, for real.
And always down to help somebody. Keep in mind, we'll get into the Comedy Store, but when I was at the Comedy Store working there for $50 an hour, just for stage time, Al was the guy that helped guide me, and he doesn't even know it until this podcast, if he ever sees it.
Oh, we'll send it to him. We'll make him watch it.
Yeah.
We'll make him watch it. Send it to everybody else. So, I mean, that's crazy. I'm listening to your mom's advice, and I'm like, Al told me the exact same thing. And all those guys during that time, and we'll get to the stand-up part here a little bit later in the episode, but all those guys are successful, and none of them had a safety net, not a single one.
Because if you have a safety net, and I think this is probably Al's advice, and it's probably my mom's, and I don't know how she knew this, because she literally to this day knows nothing about Hollywood still, that even though I explain it. But if you have a plan B, you'll use it.
Yes.
And then you'll never give everything 100% in Hollywood. And that's really honestly what it takes. It does.
Right. Right. And then Brother Jason wants to know, is BJRP is yes and no to that. He is RP in the sense that Bales understands how the world works, but he's not RP. Red pill. And we'll get into that at the very end of the show. I'll tell you about it. But okay, now we're getting at, there's most people out there, brother, don't understand RP, blue pill, red pill, blue pill way of thinking. They really don't. As we know, the vast majority of people are just living their lives. So, and BJ, I'll save it for the end because it's going to be a good talk. But yes, BJ is R pill, red pill, just because life has made him very aware, but he does not understand, nor has he heard of the manosphere, which he's going to learn about today.
All right.
But it's not something that Bales is going to be wearing on his sleeve or anything like that, man. He's got way too much going on out there to be bogged down into that. He's not like me. I ain't got a whole lot of shit going on outside of what I'm doing. I'm retired. So LA, bro. So you made the decision, you go to LA. And this is something I asked all my friends from Hollywood, from the entertainment business. How long does it take for overnight success to happen in that world?
Apparently more than 20 years. I don't know. It's a thing like, and you always hear that about people. They say, oh, that's an overnight success. And this is like I'm just regurgitating age-old stuff at this point, but people always say this overnight success. What you don't see is that 20 years or 10 years of hard work. People don't see what you're doing in the shadows. And that's when I talk to younger actors too. And I'm nowhere, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But good luck getting me to quit. Like, I'm going to get what I'm going to get. I'm going to take what I want. You're just going to meet with curveballs. But hold on. Sorry, I got a message here.
Hey, man, it's Al. Is that Al Magical checking in? Tell him I said what's up.
God dang, does he have nothing to do on a Sunday?
Yo, but we talk about overnight successes, right?
Yeah.
When Big Les finally broke through, overnight success. I'm like, what? She's been in 30 years solid.
So long. And honestly, like, that's the thing though, like overnight success. But Leslie, she was working out 3 times a night, every night for so long. So any success she has, she deserves it. I think the thing that annoys me is when I see people that are lazy that I know that really don't try hard, and then they get this out of nowhere opportunity. It's annoying. But then again, that is part of the business because everyone's journey is going to be a bit different than everyone else's.
Definitely, man. And like, I mean, so yeah, we'll segue into the stand-up part because
sure,
you told us about what happened in Kansas, and you're like, oh shit, I don't know if I want to do this. Mm-hmm. And then you wound up in LA.
Yeah.
Not only doing comedy, but doing comedy at a time and at a place where it was Fight Club, where it was like Stalingrad, man. We're talking about the Comedy Store.
Dude.
Talking about the Comedy Store. Listen, y'all, I love the Comedy Store. I am proud to be a part of, I think, the last generation of guys who went through the realness. They've turned it around. It's a great establishment. You want to go see some good comedy, go to the Comedy Store on Sunset. But when we were coming up, oh my goodness. I mean, bro.
We're gonna have to get names out of a hat with drifters that wanted to be a star too. And it's not on the postcard when you go there. It's like the world famous Comedy Store. I mean, Gaylord Dingler and Crispy Chicken, that dude in the wheelchair with the leather pants.
Oh man,
all these dudes are trying to get on stage too, and it was the weirdest existence. But I had nothing to, just like you didn't. I had nothing. I had no perspective. I had nothing to compare it against. Right. But I after a while. Being at the Comedy Store, I agree with Mark Maron. That place is built directly over a portal to hell.
It is.
And if you can but here's the great thing about the Comedy Store. If you start there and if you can get even relatively good there, you can perform anywhere.
Back then.
Yes.
Now the Comedy Store, now is on par with the Improvs, is on par with Laugh. I mean, that's not a bad thing, guys. I'm not trying to dump on it. I'm just saying we had to come up. You didn't know if you were going to get shot, shanked, assaulted. We just didn't know what was going to happen.
I was working there, Don. I saw plenty of revolvers and knives come out,
Oh, my goodness.
It wasn't fun, but it was the Wild West. And I'm sure even, decades prior with Kinnison, and I'm sure Don Barris has tons of stories, right? But it was its own Wild West compared to any other club.
Yes.
It was.
It was anything goes. And everything went, and it's not just the misfits that were there. I mean, some of the best. Sebastian Maniscalco, probably one of the hottest comics in the game right now, came out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You looking at like Brett Ernst, Sam Tripoli.
Ernst,
Yeah,
Paparulo, like these are the guys I started watching when I got there that blew me away.
Caparillo is one of the first people that made me cry laughing. Him and Tripoli, man, just the way that they
Yeah,
commanded the stage back then, man. Al Magical, bro, like Maz Jobrani. I mean, the list goes on and on.
you guys are heady, man. Yeah,
Right. These guys came out of that, and it
yeah.
was, oh boy, and man,
You remember Jim Painter, right?
yes, I
I
remember
mean, we'd
Painter.
all race to the room to see him and Brody Stevens.
Man, R.I.P. Yeah,
God rest him, rest his soul, man. Like that,
R.I.P. Brody. He was a god in there, bro. For real though.
I could not listen to any of those dudes on the lineup on any given night, but I'd race to see Brody.
And you were there every night, man. So I mean, so let's talk about that. Like, so the Hollywood experience. Like, people are like, well, you're an actor, you know what I mean? Why are you mixed up in this world? Can we explain how it's all intertwined and how Hollywood works? Because of, we're talking about exposure, different types of experiences.
No, that's a good point, man, because I never came out to LA to be a stand-up. I don't know about you, but like
no, I'm an air traffic controller,
like,
bro.
I literally, when I showed up, I journaled about it, which I don't do that anymore. I should, but I went to the Comedy Store the first night I was in town because I had no money for acting classes or the things you're supposed to do, right? And I, luckily enough, I had written what you get is 3 minutes on a Sunday, right?
Yes, it,
And
bro.
3 minutes felt like an eternity, but I ended up drawing my name out of the hat and I got on the stage and had no money to take classes. So I thought, well, this is cool. And that was the first time I actually did well. Now, would I consider that well now? No.
No, absolutely not.
But for the 15 people that were in the crowd at that point.
You had 15, you bragging, bro.
Yeah. It was, I actually did well. And that's how I ended up being part of that atmosphere in a way. And it got addicting for a while. It did. I'm curious, when did you end up at the Comedy Store? How'd you find your way over there?
Hanging out with friends. One night I was in Santa Monica. We were outside of some nightclub, man. We're coming out. I was with Jill, my people Jill and her crew, right? So, and they're Hollywood insiders, just a different facet. And so we're outside. Everybody's, they're all drunk. I'm sober. I'm like waiting for my car because I'm driving everyone home. And this bus pulls up with all these corporate people, right? All these old waspy corporate people, shit faced. And they're literally falling off the bus. And I just start talking about it. And everyone in our group was crying. You know what I mean? I was saying stuff that you can't say today, but I would say, I mean, it was all kind of short bus jokes. Like, dude left his helmet. You know what I mean? I'm like, all this kind of stuff. It was one old dude, didn't look like he could see. You know what I mean? Like, just stuff that I was saying. And again, I had never done stand-up before, anything like that. And all of my friends, they were all crying. They're like, bro, you have to go do stand-up. And I'm like, I'm just talking shit. There's a difference between what I'm doing now and what comedians do on stage. They're like, we don't care. You got to do it. So that following Sunday, I went to Potluck. And it took me, 3 weeks before I drew a number? And you remember, it was Monday, Tuesday. It was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday back then.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So, like I said, it took me a few weeks. I drew Monday and Tuesday. And first time I went up, Ari Shaffir brought me up. And it was the night when he was being nice. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, he was in a good mood. I went up, I had a good slot. So the guys in front of me weren't, it wasn't Gaylord and the crew. It was like regular comics. I didn't have to follow the machine ripping my arm off or whatever. The machine ripped my leg out of wherever that punchline was.
That's who you want to follow.
Oh my God.
The guy bombs regularly.
Ooh, boy. So yeah, it wasn't Mickey or him. So I went up and I did, it was horrible, bro. 3 minutes, it was god awful, man. I was talking about signs like slippery when wet, and it was dude. I did what open micers do, but I got a standing ovation. Like right before I went up, a bunch of young kids came in. I don't know, some tourists from some school somewhere, and after I was done, they gave me a standing ovation. And then I came back the next night, and I got the real treatment, bro. I brought a girl with me. I had this beautiful woman with me. Like, yo, check me out, man. I'm finna go up here. It was like two sisters sitting there. It was a homeless guy, and then it was all the comics in the back. And bro, that was the longest 3 minutes of my life. I mean, you can hear the. I'm saying I'm trying to say my bit, and the one sister was like, I was like, oh God. You
Yeah.
could just hear the sound. I was waiting for the sign to come on. You finally heard it come on, that hum, like and I'm like,
Star.
yes.
Yeah, the star came out.
Like, yes. And my friend was like, you suck. I bring this beautiful Puerto Rican in there. And she was like, you suck. I'm like, oh, thanks for being honest. And that was the start.
I'll never forget that type of thing. And I made that mistake, man. After that high of doing that first performance, well, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't. So I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I get to perform in 2 weeks. Whatever. Made friends with Tommy, all that. He's like, hey, come on and do your 3 minutes. So, of course, I bring every pretty girl I ever met. I go up there and bomb. Those girls did not stick around. So, like, don't get too ahead of yourself. But that was the great thing about the Comedy Store, is that you're gonna eat it hard, but you're better for it later.
That's
everybody we ever came up with, I watched eat it.
Yes.
Even the seasoned dudes, like, they'll have a night where they bomb, and then that made it okay to have a bomb. You never want to bomb, but that made it okay.
That makes it okay. Yeah, and they tell you that too. Like, bro, you're not getting anywhere. Like, you need to bomb. You need to eat it to get better. And that's funny, because like bombing on stage, fellas, if you're out there, if you're a young comic watching this, don't bring any females with you until you get at least 6-7 years in, until you are at least featuring somewhere.
Don't bring a woman you care
about. Right. Because bombing on stage is like getting your ass beat, right, by dudes in front of your girlfriend. Like,
you're immediately a reject.
Oh my God, like, you the worst dude.
You're unattractive to that woman, and I can't explain why that's the case, but it is.
It's just one of those things, bro. So I learned that the hard way. I never brought any females after that until I became a promoter. Once I became a promoter, it was a different kind of vibe. But I wasn't like, nah. Now, yeah, if someone wants to come see me, yeah, I'm performing here. It is what it is. But they're not like with me. I've never been that comic. They're like, oh yeah, she's with me, and you like using that as your flex. Nah, that's why I got a Mercedes. I don't use that as a flex.
You know what I remember about you, though, at the Comedy Store in the early days, is you got better faster than everybody. Thanks, of our generation. It took me a while to kind of find my footing or my voice. I think you always kind of knew yours. And you got better faster.
I appreciate that.
But everyone's on their own journey with it.
Right.
But I'm just glad we had each other, and not just you and me, but we had a handful of dudes and women that we started to kind of pocket with.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that made existing there easier.
Yeah, our people, Bill You he was doing his thing. You know what I mean? Remember the fingers?
Yeah. It was O'Neill, Danis, all those dudes. John Little.
And then when we had I mean, look at Mark Ellis. Like, Mark Ellis is killing it right now.
Doing well. He's doing great.
He's killing it. I mean, he started really under us. He was like the class right behind us. And I'm always checking him out, because I would compare myself to those guys we mentioned earlier. I'm comparing myself to Ernst. You know what I mean? To John Caparillo, Sebastian, to Sam Tripoli. So as I got better, they got way better. And I'm always like, damn, I ain't there yet. You know what I mean? Because they had bits.
A good example. He's just such a pro, man. A comic. It's another dude I'll race to the scene to watch him perform.
Who was that? I blocked you. Who was that?
Tripoli.
Yes.
Sam Tripoli, yeah. I mean, just, you never know what's going to come out of that dude's mouth.
Man, look, Sam Tripoli, like, for people ask me, like, well, who's a comic I've never heard of? Is probably the best you've ever in the game. That's the name. I'm like, it's Sam Tripoli, hands down, bro, hands down. Like, that guy, I've never seen so many people crying and falling out of their chairs as I have him working bar rooms and stuff over the years, bro.
He's got a magnetic personality, man.
Yeah, I mean, just him standing there saying "huh" will make me laugh. You know what I mean? Just like.
Well, he's goofy, but in the same breath, like, once you hear him talk, you realize how heady he is. Like, he's smart. It's not the guy. I would say him and Rick Ingram are two dudes I don't want to get into a battle of wits with.
Yeah, Ingram's, when it comes to crowd work, Ingram. Like, is Ingram, and the only person that even comes close is Ian Bagg.
I've seen Ian do a little comedy, little crowd work in his comedy sets. I haven't seen his, but obviously Ingram survives on it. That's his thing.
Yeah, that's all he does.
But I've honestly never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah, and then Hinchcliffe blew up. Like he
Oh,
came
did
from
he?
out of nowhere, bro. Like he's out there, he's crushing it right now.
Good
He's
for
out
him.
there with Rogan doing all that. Yeah, again, all these people we saw come through. So brother Jason wants to know what's the ultimate goal? Movies, TV, money.
Never money. Money never weighed into the equation. Like, of course, I say I want to create an empire, but when I say that, I mean like a 360 production company and XY. Like, I want to do it all. So then, hazard of that trade, if you do well enough, here comes money. But the ultimate goal is to just be an artist. And I think that if you're happy being an artist, um, that is when everything starts to unfold. There was so much time earlier in my career when I was so worried about what this gig meant, or if I don't get this and it's that. And it never mattered. It never mattered. Something as trivial as an audition or a booking. I mean, hell, shit. I mean, I did 6 series regular pilots in a row from '09 all the way up, and none of them went to series. So I think anybody would want to suck on a 45 at that point. But from, because you're just picturing like, oh, I never pictured money though. It was always, if I can do this job, let's call it one season of a show, even if it sucked. But that always leads to the next thing. And eventually you can start to brand yourself if you're smart. So the ultimate goal, it used to be movies and TV as an actor. As time went on, it's now, I want to do movies and television as a writer, producer, and actor, and not necessarily in that order.
See, that's what's up. And a lot of people may not understand what we're talking about. So let's talk about like to series. Let's talk about pilot, and not just what the term mean, but monetarily what that mean. And we can kind of make our numbers. We don't have to use exact numbers, but just to give
Sure.
people an idea of the kind of financial gain that's out there. So a pilot is basically the first show of a series. Is that correct, or is it more of a definition
Yeah,
to
it's
that?
the first script of a series that hasn't been picked up to a series yet. It's not on a network yet. The network bought it, and then they'll say, let's go film, let's cast it, let's film it. And then later on in the year after it's filmed, and I hope this is not too confusing, there's a thing called upfronts that happens in New York. And all of the advertisers show up there, whether it's Coca-Cola, it's Budweiser, it's Snickers, it's whoever you want. And every network has their own day to say, here's our pilot and see if you like this. All that is for these companies like Frito-Lay and Pepsi, whatever, is to decide where they want to spend their ad money based on the pilot that they just watched. And that's the only way that TV shows go to series. I had a friend tell me one time, and I don't think it's a new comment, but he said, think of television shows as the space between commercials.
Wow.
And that's the only reason they live. Is
Wow.
because some network said, yeah, we'll pour our money into Friends or Seinfeld or whatever the shows that are on now. That's the only way they go to series. Without those ad dollar bids, they go nowhere.
And for forever, up until recently, networks were that was it. That was the game. That was the only players in town, right? So those were your choices, like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox,
Yeah, Fox, yeah,
TBS.
right.
Was TBS one
Yes.
of them?
It's a cable network, but still. But yeah, that's all you did, and then later on, obviously cable, you'd go out for Comedy Central shows and things like that. But if you want to make primetime money, it's what you said, Don. It's ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. That's NBC. Did we say NBC? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the money is to be made.
Now, like the money? So, and this will kind of dovetail into the part of the interview where we'll talk about the money and why so many people are probably drawn to this. Because I know you're drawn to it because you're creative. I know this for a fact because I've seen you turn down money.
Mm-hmm.
But for those people who come to Hollywood, they really just want to be rich. What is it that they're seeing? So let's talk about a pilot. Like, how much was someone who just got to Hollywood, they got lucky, They were in the right bar at the right time. The right person saw them, and they're like, "Hey, come out for this audition." They get it, right? And we're gonna not even gonna talk about the union aspect yet, but they get the pilot. They go shoot it. How much money would they make? That type of person, just
Well,
making up money.
I mean, first of all, you're probably not going to book a pilot if you're not union. But secondly, and it's probably changed. I booked my first pilot series regular role. And again, for anyone that's watching anything or who watches it later, a series regular role is one of the leads of the show. So there's however many, there's 2, there's 4, there's 8, whatever it is. And you go through like this crazy audition process. It's almost annoying. But your first quote could be, it's probably changed, but you'll start at a minimum 20 grand, 25 grand per episode. So you're making 25 grand a week, let's call it. That's good and all if your show gets picked up to series. If it doesn't, then you've just made $25,000. But in that same breath, you didn't make $25,000 because you have to assume your agents and managers are each taking 10%. And then Uncle Sam looks at 25 grand for that week as if you make that 52 weeks a year. So my first pilot, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say it, but I made $17,500 on my first series regular role. I walked home in pocket with $4,500.
$4,500 and a tax bill.
So when you think about it, everyone thinks, shit, I'm making 17.5 or whatever your quote is. But you're really not once you pocket it. So don't go buying houses and Maseratis and shit before all that. And I didn't do that. I was just stunned at the lack of money. But here's the thing. I got to go make a TV show for a week. So it was a privilege. I'd have done it for zero money.
So, and then just to make the math simple, let's say somebody comes in, they get 10 grand, right? And then the pilot doesn't get picked up, but they get called to make another pilot because, like you said, it's all about relationships, right? Once people like you, you start getting more and more, offers. So they do another one. How much does the money stay the same?
No, so I think the beautiful thing about at least network television, I mean, maybe cable, and again, now we're in the world of streaming. That's where the industry, I think, is in a bit of an overhaul. Nobody knows what to pay anybody, because when you do a network show, your quote, let's call it, like you said, 10 grand. That's your first pilot. You book a pilot the next year as a series regular. The beautiful thing is no matter how much time you spend in between not booking and booking, your quote can never go down. It's always going to go up. So you'll go from 10, and then your next pilot, you're making 15 or 17. And then the next one, you're making 25. The next one, you're making 40. So that'll never go down unless you allow it. But that's how your agents and managers will negotiate. It'll never go down.
And that's the thing right there. So whenever people ask me, like young kids, hey, I want to go to Hollywood, I want to go to New York, I want to go to Chicago, whatever, I want to get into the business. And they're like, what do I need? I'm like, you need a lot of money in savings or someone to provide you with a place to live. And you need an agent and you need a manager. And before you even do that, you need to be in the union. Am I correct in telling them, is that good advice for somebody or is that BS?
I think don't be in a hurry to get in the union. I mean, and I only say that only now because when I moved out to Hollywood, that was the thing. Like, it still is. Like, there's a difference if you're non-union and union. There's a difference between making $5 grand and 50 grand. Commercials, you could spend one day at work and make $50,000 to $100,000 that year. If the union stuff slows down, as a union member, you cannot go do non-union. And non-union can be good. Like sometimes they're $10,000 buyouts for one day. You don't get any residuals, but you made 10 grand that day. And you don't have to give anything to an agent.
Wow, I didn't know that part. So that's the stuff that I really wanted to delve into there because everyone's like, oh, you got to get into the union. We're talking about the Screen Actors Guild, that's SAG, and then there's AFTRA, right? And I don't know what that acronym
That's the
stands
same
for.
thing now. They merged.
So once you're in the union, and I just know that there was a time when I was out there that people were always talking about vouchers. voucher. Like I was doing this, now I'm gonna get a voucher. What was that about, bro?
Vouchers, I think, I don't even know if it's still the same, Don, but like vouchers used to be, when you did extra work, you'd have to get 3 of them in order to be SAG eligible. But and so when you're SAG eligible, that means you can go now pay the $3,000 it costs to join the union if you want to, and now you're a dues paying member and you're eligible for SAG after auditions. But I mean, shit, man, it was so long ago. I don't even know if they still do it.
Me neither. I mean, I just remember. I remember hearing that all the time. People like, oh, they would put that like for the casting calls. You could get a voucher or something like that.
But the BS of that whole thing was that I did extra work one time and I vowed to never do it again because it was such a miserable experience. And I'm not saying don't do it, because as an actor, you as a young actor, you could learn a lot on set. You know, you can understand, you have to be an actor at one point, but you also need to understand the technical side of it. And if you don't know any of that, that is useful to you. But it was always the pretty girls that were getting the vouchers from the AD. It was never a goofball like me.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, I'm going to lose this one. I'm going to lose this battle. So I didn't do it. You know, there's always these stunners that were getting the vouchers, and obviously I get it. You know, but I was like, I'm gonna lose this.
Yeah, that was before woke culture. That was before. I mean, you know what? I think you're right. I think that all stops when the hashtag Me Too thing came around, because those stories, I'm sure, came out.
Oh
yeah. And like you said, it's why did she get the voucher? Well, she has the most talent. Like, is that what we calling it? Okay.
I mean, in a way, extras are, and I've done this, but extras are human furniture. So I don't know if anyone's like standing out as an extra. So I know how. I mean, we all know how it works. At least that's the way it worked then. You know,
that's the way.
Dorky dude like me thinking, let's give him one. They're looking at the 5'10" stunner in the corner. You know?
He made me laugh. Let's give him a voucher. Nah, ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. But so yeah, because I always tell these young kids, like, yo, it's a lot of work. Now, you've been out there for how long?
Since 2003.
2003, still going strong.
Yeah.
And like you said, you wanted to start an empire. So I think this is a good time for us to talk about BSC, bro.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
You want, you know what I mean? If you want, it's up to you.
Oh yeah, we can talk about it. I hope you got my text about Zucker. He was interested in jumping on with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I meant to, because I mean, I got back and then we had to jump on, because I'm like, we could send him the link now if he wanted to, but definitely want to do another show, not just with Z, but I want to get Eric on board too, like the whole team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Zucker will have a lot of different insight than I do, because he comes from a different perspective, and he comes from a great one. It's just different than mine. But BSE, for anybody watching that doesn't know, that's the name of our production company, which is Big Smith's Entertainment. And I didn't move to LA thinking I'm going to start a production company. There's no, I didn't even know what that meant really. And at that time, 2003, that's not even affordable, as you know, Don. Like with the camera equipment and what it costs, you couldn't make your own stuff anyway.
Right.
But the only reason that Big Smith's Entertainment came about was the industry started to slow down. I felt it change. And I can't even put a finger on it as to what changed, because I think so much was changing at one time, you know. And the first thing was the introduction of the streamers. That started messing up auditions for actors and things. And it just became a thing. And then more, it was like this domino effect of more things. Kind of the industry was shifting, I think, as any industry probably does. But I watched it firsthand. So I thought to myself, and this is what I would tell new actors too, everything dried up for auditions as an actor. And I was not a writer at that time. I was an aspiring writer. And I thought, well, I can't just be the client that sits by the phone, because what's that? You know, like, how long is that going to go on for? So I thought, well, what if we found that instead of making YouTube shorts, which, no disrespect to anyone that wants to do it, I'm just old school. I want to go the traditional route. I want to shop shows or make an indie, whatever it is. We found an investor in Jeffrey, and we started to make our own pilots. presentations, write our own scripts. And for anyone that doesn't know a pilot presentation, basically we were just starting the company was the only means of putting our careers in our own hands if there was no auditions. So we got an investor, we wrote some scripts, but they're short form, almost like a movie trailer. And my management firm taught me that just film something and show them rather than let them read it and let their minds wander. And when you shoot something and you show it to an executive, it answers way more questions than it creates. So we ended up filming a couple of them and we sold both of them. Now that's going to be a different story the further along we go.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about the first one right now, which is gold. I wish we could show it. It's so daggone good, but yeah.
Yeah, we can.
I know, but I'm watching it in my mind right now, bro. That is you in that costume, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a time. And just so you know, I don't want things on this show to be too insider baseball or whatever, but you were there and you helped produce. So we raised about $750 to make the indie because the whole industry said, forget it.
Yeah, they didn't say no. They said, hell no. They laughed, though.
They laughed and they said, but I have a job to protect. I can't.
Like,
bottom line for anyone watching, it was a very, very R-rated comedy. Boy. And right as it came out, the Me Too movement hit. Now, this movie / show that we did, it had nothing negative to do about women or anything. It was just subject matter they did not want to touch.
And some of the funniest stuff too. You talk about Hetty. I mean, it's we're gonna move on because we can't really talk about it, but you're gonna see it. It's coming. So you're just gonna have to wait and just wait for it, and then we'll circle back when it comes out, and then we'll be able to really talk about it. But it was one of the and thank you so much for letting me be a part of that, man. That was a great weekend.
Oh man, you're gonna be a part of so many more movies. We got so many on the slate right now. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, and they let me do more than just bring in the ice, y'all. I actually got to do stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So okay, and I like the way you brought that up. So this kind of goes into your building an empire mentality because you're looking at it as an actor. Okay, I love acting, but it's only going to get me this. You were experimenting with writing. You tried to stand up. You're making connections. And then you finally came to the conclusion, like, the only way to really get what I want done, I'm going to need to be the guy who greenlights stuff. In other words, I'm going to have to be the production company. Is that where that came from?
That's what it is. And I think there's so many, and again, I'll give you, and we've talked about this at length in the past and stuff, and there's always like new stuff, but you have to, first of all, you got to bet on yourself. So if that's the case, if you have an agent or a manager, you're the worst client ever if you're just waiting around. There's nothing they hate more. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't effectively and affordably go make your own stuff. It's going to cost you $30,000, $40,000. Now you can make a quality project with an iPhone. So I feel like there's no excuse for anybody to not be making any sort of content. Whether you use that to go shop to a network or you want to put it on YouTube, that's up to your discretion, and you want followers. But that's exactly where it came from, Don. Is you can now be in charge of your future. You can dictate it. You can dictate it in a way, and if you're good at it, even a little bit, you can bust indoors because everyone's after content right now. Right now, maybe more movies than TV shows. But you can go, you can bust in any door if you're making your own shit. You can.
Yeah. And guys out there, I haven't forgotten about, he's going to tell us exactly what BSE is and everything behind that. But we're just on some good stuff right now. And it made me think. One thing about Hollywood, guys, you guys have heard this in the real world, the pitch. And whether you're pitching Hollywood or you're pitching a bank so you can get a loan or you're pitching some entrepreneur or you're pitching some girl. Let's keep it 100. You know what I mean? Every time we go out and we holler at chicks, it's a pitch, right? Bales, it was you that told me how important that is. You know what I mean? And then, of course, it went into the pitch presentation. But once you're in the room, bro, what's the difference between success and not being successful? I mean, typically, I think, well,
I'll never forget my first pitch was to Comedy Central. And it went well. It was for the same project we're talking about that we can't
Oh,
talk
no, oh, I thought that was for muffler diving. I thought you pitched that.
about. That I watched that the other day.
No,
And
you
then
didn't. For real?
I came across it somehow. And then Brett Ernst, I caught up with him, I don't know, it was like a month later. And he goes, "Hey, bro, you think this is going to ruin my career?" And I go, "Probably." He goes, "Fuck, bro."
Shout out to Brett Ernst, man.
Yeah,
He's
man.
check him out.
It did not ruin his career.
No, go on YouTube right now. You can't see muffler diving, but you can see Brett Ernst. His latest stand up, I think it's an hour, is on. And I forget the name of it. I'm sorry, but just type in Brett Ernst on YouTube. It'll come up. Check it out. Support our brother Brett.
And watch him on Cobra Kai too. He's hilarious. Dude.
That's right. He's on Cobra Kai, man. So, wow. So, but like in the pitch. So, okay, you were pitching the show. We can't talk about it. Wasn't muffler diving. Okay, man. So, but what is? Because you were telling me there's a fine line. Did you want to share that, or are we going to keep that between us?
I mean, pitching is interesting because obviously the first time of anything, whether you're a virgin and that's your first time, or you're pitching a show, it's your first time, anything's nerve-wracking and you're going to overthink it. What I learned about pitching a show, and you could pitch a movie too, but my first experience was a TV show. And it was, I mean, you go in with these preconceived notions. All it ended up being was a conversation with really cool executives.
And that's what blew my mind.
It's not meant to be overthought. It was a conversation. And I think the best way to open it, as I always told the executives, you open up with a, "Hey, how do you do?" Butter their muffin or whatever. Nice to meet you. But I always gave them permission to interject. Say, "I'm going to barf a lot of stuff at you, but feel free if you're confused or you have a question or you just want to interject about something, feel free." And that allowed it to become conversational rather than what I felt was going to be a PowerPoint presentation. And I didn't want that. It's why I don't have an office job. I don't want presentations, but you're literally sitting around a table with a few executives. One of them says nothing because they're taking notes and they're buried in a notebook. So you're talking with one or two people. And it's actually, if you're passionate about your project, it's a really great experience. Here's a trick of the trade. And I shouldn't even say this because if any executive that I know, any buyer I know is watching this, going to be like, "Is that what he did?" But I don't care. I don't care. If an executive weighs in with an idea about your movie or your show, just say, "Whoa, that's good. We could really use that." Even if it sucks, just go with it. Bro. Just go with it because they want to feel creative in that sense, and they have a job to maintain too.
That you haven't cornered the market on that.
So I'm always like, "Woo, we never thought of that."
Yeah, I say that all the time. You haven't cornered the market.
Yeah, I say
yeah, and I haven't pitched anything yet. Yeah, we froze up for a second, but you're back. I haven't. We're back. I haven't pitched in the room yet. I pitched to y'all. I've actually, full disclosure, I have pitched to Big Smith's Entertainment. I had a couple good ones. So when Eric gave a couple ideas, I'm like, you know what? I think you're onto something. That's great. I think that's great, Eric. I think we'll make that change. So you weren't the first to do it, and you told me.
You thought it sucked.
Don't hate me, Eric. Come on,
he's not gonna hate you. He's in Japan anyway. He's never gonna see this.
He's never gonna see this. So yeah, and I know after you did that first presentation, I ain't gonna lie to you, we had that talk. You were like, "I'm gonna be like a robot," and and you came out, you're like, "Bro, it was just all we needed was beer." It was like it would have been the perfect conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed so there are levels to it, right? So it's never just you go into, you name the studio, you make the pitch, and then bam, here's $20 million to go shoot the thing. It never works that way, does it?
No, I mean, maybe for somebody it did. It didn't work that way for me. But there's always this waiting period, and it's always hard to talk about this stuff because I'm at this spot, and again, I don't pretend to be anywhere on the scheme of things, because if I was doing my job right, I wouldn't have to tell anybody what I do for a living, right? So, but that's fine. But you just never stop the hustle and blah blah blah. But it's a long haul, man. But I don't know anyone that was like, here's a blank check, good job today. I remember pitching to shows, and then I'd go sit at a bar and have a beer because you're waiting on that phone call and you hope it's a fast turnaround, you know. And then here comes Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then Friday, and here comes 2 weeks later, you still haven't heard, which in your mind you're justifying. You're like, well, that's good news we haven't heard, because that means you're still thinking about it. But the reality is they're probably dealing with a Tom Hanks and a Meryl Streep project, and they forgot about yours, and then they just forgot to tell you it's a pass. So who knows? Because I've sold things and then the platform failed, and so no longer a sale. And then even recently, I sold my first studio movie with our company did to Paramount, and we're producing and writing as a company. And this happened this time last year, in fact, April of 2021. So okay, cool. And then here goes the any day now. It circles around to last month, and Paramount got such deal fatigue about everybody involved and everybody wanting this point and that point. They're like, hey, you know what? I think we're out. Better luck somewhere else. So I sold my first movie, producing and writing, and they were like, yeah, we're good. So I guess the point there is, don't go throwing a party the second you get an offer.
Yeah, because I've been at a few of those parties, and I'm like, yeah, like, bro, what? When do we get to see the studio? Oh yeah, about that.
Not till the ink is dry at this point.
Boy, listen.
Rough.
And we were talking about pitch presentations, right? Which that's all I do now, and that's because of you and Big Schmitz, man. I was like, you know what? We just throw something together. Like you said, the technology is such that it doesn't cost a ton of money to do it. Because when we first got out there, like you're looking at $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 just to shoot something real quick,
and just to get the equipment.
Yeah, just to get the equipment, let alone, and then you got to call in all these favors, and now you just need an iPhone, like I did with you. Boy, you probably don't want to talk about this, but worst wingman ever.
Anywhere.
I'm like, worst wingman ever, bro.
I don't want to talk about it.
I didn't think so.
Well, it wasn't my favorite.
It was mine, dude. I mean, okay, so for you guys out there, my first short I ever did, and this, me and my buddy Tom from work. He was the DP, he was the director of photography, he handled all the cameras and all that. I was the director, slant producer, executive producer, right? Called in a lot of favors. I had BJ show up, Andrina was there, Marty, Marite Ligo, who's now directing her own films. You know, she's on Amazon right now, Amazon Prime. She did a horror flick, really nice. She was there, and BJ and I. And I'm like, hey, man, I had this little script. It must have looked like his script that he wrote when he was 8 years old. He was like, oh, whatever, I ain't doing nothing. This will be fun. And but the point I wanted to bring up is you took that script. You had it for a couple months, and then you started calling me like, when are we going to shoot? I gave you the date. And the closer we got to that date, you had questions. You would come in like asking about the character. You're asking me. That was the first experience I had dealing with a real actor. Because I'm like, just come up and be you. You're like, no, I need a fanny pack. This is what I'm going to wear. Like, bro, you put in so much work developing that character. And I'm like, but it's just us, bro. But you were like, no, man, everything I do, if I'm going to do it, I'm going all the way. So I got to tip my hat to you. You didn't like it that much, but everyone I showed it to laughed. It was like,
it's fun. I just feel like if you're going to do it, if you got the, you know, if you have the privilege of making anything like on camera, you might as well kind of, and that's kind of the fun of it too, is to dive in, isn't it? You know, you dived in and you just kind of explore. Like, I don't know. Like, I've never been that actor that's always worried about objectives and goals. Like, it's a very American thing to do. But like, I think the Brits have it right. Everyone in the UK has it right. You know, just figure out to me what has meaning in it, and then just daydream on it. And if you have the script long enough, you'll find it.
You found it, bro.
Daydream is what I like.
It was, and guys out there, it was just a quick little skit where I was this guy, and BJ played the annoying neighbor, and he's like the worst wingman.
Yeah.
He's the worst wingman. So I got these two beautiful women, and they're like basically inviting me to go do a 3-way. And then Bales comes in, his character comes in and just ruins it. And
Cock blocks the whole thing.
yeah, dumped a bunch of water on me, bro. Everyone I ever showed that to, they laughed hard. They're like, "Man, that's great." But again, you came in. I mean, so professional. Again, I learned a lot on that day. I learned that one thing you definitely got to have is a production assistant. I did not have one that day, and
Oh,
that
man.
was a mistake because there's so much stuff that needs to happen day of. And that put the fire under me. After that, I'm like, I wanna mess with this. This is fun. It was even like it was better than stand up to me, bro. Brother Michael, what's up, man? Welcome. Yo, thanks for popping in here. This is my man BJ Bales. We're talking about Hollywood, like how it really goes down.
What's up, Michael?
And so, all right. So when you go in and you pitch, it's great. How do you handle it when you're pitching to not just a production company or a studio, but a star? Because you got some experience with that where you've pitched to like A-list type people.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have the actor in the room that may be so a production company I mean, it could be anybody, but if you're pitching to a production company that has a star attached to it, I mean, like Mila Kunis's company or whoever, like at this point they may be on the Zoom. In other scenarios prior to the pandemic, they'll be in the room or whatever. I don't think it's any different because when you're pitching, that person's not exactly attached to that project as an actor. They could if they wanted to later, probably. But that's assuming it gets purchased. But I never found any differentiation between pitching to somebody that I know from movies and shows versus some sort of executive. I've heard stories from friends that they got nervous and tongue-tied and shut down on it.
Because the stars in the room, they got nervous?
Yeah. But I just look at it like you talk like what I think the mindset is one creative over another. One creative meets another, and let's talk about possibility, because you don't have to have all the answers in the room. You just have to have a clear, concise vision. They'll ask their questions. And even if I've had plenty of times where I'm like, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. But I think it's better to admit you don't know than it is to try and pull something out of your ass and you sound extra stupid.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know
what I mean? That makes a lot of sense. So, and I think it's your experience at the Comedy Store is like you're not going to be starstruck by anybody because I mean I'm pretty sure.
Saw it all.
I mean, bro, you see, once you're in the Comedy Store and Andy Dick walks in without his pants on, it's like, yo,
I'm not sure that's a star to me, but
hey, to people out there, he was.
Some other people, but
you actually got to meet.
Walking on Chappelle, we hung out, around Richard Pryor when he was alive at the Comedy Store. Jim Carrey was there. Like we would see all these people, but nobody bothered them, and it wasn't a big deal because that was their home. So I think it kind of leveled that. Not, they're clearly better than me in every imaginable way. It's just it didn't strike me as starstruck when I would meet other people, just because I realized how truly regular most of these A-listers are.
And they want to be regular, even though they're A-listers. I tell folks that all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta tell you this though. I gotta ask you this. You had to be just a little bit starstruck when you met Jim Carrey.
Yes.
What was that like, bro? How did that go down? Paint that picture.
He had a full beard at the time, and he was in the shadows in the back. It was a OR original room show, and I recognized him. He was kind of ball cap beard, all this, and I remember asking him for a picture, and he said, "If I take one, I have to take 100," and no picture with him, and which makes sense from his standpoint. Because if someone sees a flashbulb go off, now it's open season for Jim to take nonstop pictures. And to your point, Don, all he wanted to do was chill. That's all he wanted to do.
Yep,
so I appreciated the comment. I don't think there's a better celebrity story than went with your George Clooney story.
Yeah, that was a good night.
You should tell that one. That was great.
That was a good night. I think I might have told this story on the platform.
Oh, did you already?
I don't remember, but we'll tell it again. And Brother Michael, like, this is super enlightening. I'm hoping, I'm glad you're getting something out of it, bro. This is the bubble I'll come back to all the time because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I love entertainment. I love all the different facets of it, and it's the business of it. The numbers it blows my mind. Like Bales already touched on it today. Like you can literally in Hollywood, you can go to bed on Monday with like negative $50 in your banking account, and then on Friday you can have $2 million in your bank account. Am I exaggerating?
Takes 1 gig to boost that momentum.
That's it, just 1 gig. So George Clooney, I was doing my thing. Y'all know I network. I was doing my thing. I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm in Beverly Hills, at Sofitel. There's a restaurant bar at the bottom of Sofitel in Beverly Hills. And I'm in there chilling, and I'm with a female of mine, and she's like, you know who's standing next to you? And I look at the guy, and I'm like, no, who's this? She was like, it's George Clooney. I know it's George Clooney because I know his voice. And I look again, and I'm like, yeah, it is George Clooney. And when I say he's sitting right next to me, he's right here. If I lean over, where our shoulders would be touching. So, but to your point about the pictures, she asked me if you think George Clooney would take a picture with her. And I said, yeah, you hot? Yeah, you fine. I would. Why not? You know what I mean? And this is before the good phones. This is back in the day when girls had those cardboard things in their purse. So she was like, I'm scared. Can you ask him for me? And look, man, I'm gonna keep it 100. You know what I was trying to do with Shorty? I was trying to, get my, you know what I mean? So I'm like, So I turned to the brother. I said, hey, listen, I know who you are. I'm like, I'm definitely a fan of your work. But my friend over here wants to know if she could take a picture with you. And I said, listen, if you don't want to take a picture, that's fine. I'll come up with an excuse. Don't worry. I won't put it on you. I'll put it on me, whatever. He was like, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. So he takes the picture with her. He was taking pictures all night long because they saw that by the people in there. And all night long, he's taking pictures. Like women are coming up with their husbands in tow. And he took the time to have a picture and a word with anybody who walked up to him. I was like, yo, you the man. We talked all night long. We were hanging out. I was an air traffic controller at the time. He's flying to my airport. He introduced me to the owner of the bar, which was Christy Brinkley.
Oh, damn, really?
Her husband at the time. I think they're still married. Real cool dude. I met him there. Man, look, that was my number one Hollywood night, bro. When I say all night, man, we were in there till they closed. You know what I mean? Just hanging out with George Clooney and the owner of the bar who has his own Global Express at my airport. Hey, dude, it was a great night. And he was so cool, man. Like anyone who came up, he would talk to him. He was so not Hollywood. And he grew up in the same area I did. He grew up on the other side of the river.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so we talked about home. And I asked him, I said, hey, man, I'm like, look, what is the worst part of being famous and wealthy? And he basically told me, he was like, bro, I can't go to a Reds game. I just can't go to a Reds game and just watch the game. I can't. He's like, I would love to be able to do that.
You know, when it's funny you say that. I guess that's a good question for any A-listers. Like when we partnered with Jack Black years ago, I asked that
name dropping.
Yeah, name big. Yeah, that name hit the floor, didn't it? But I asked him, what's the worst part? It was either me or Zucker. Either way, he said the biggest pain in the ass to him was in public. Everyone, based on your movies, everyone that you meet in public already acts like they know you. So there's no, hey, how you doing? They're shouting a movie line at you from an open car window or at a grocery store. And his thing was, it was off-putting. He's like, everyone thinks they already know you. See, they don't know me as a person.
Yeah.
So nobody introduces themselves. They just shout your most famous lines at you in public.
And expect you to what?
And that's the thing. He's like, I don't with that. Yes, I said it, but I'm glad you like it. But I don't really know how to respond to it.
It's like, I didn't even write it. It's not even my line.
Don, is there any point during the show where I can grab a beer and use the bathroom real quick, or is that unprofessional?
No, this is great. No, it's perfect. You want to take the camera with? It's fine. I can.
Yeah, let's take it in there. You got any an organ in there that you play or something like this?
No, I'm gonna keep talking.
All right, yeah. Just hang up a second. I'll be there, man.
Yo, man, this is what happens when you talk to people who drink a lot of beer. So yeah, this is the stuff I really want to delve into about Hollywood, y'all. Like it's you hear the stories, but you really don't know what it's like to hit that grind like BJ does. This guy put everything on hold. He's not playing. Like, he is completely committed. to come out there to Hollywood doing, chasing his dream, right? To becoming a stand-up comedian and then a producer and then putting together a phenomenal team and creating a production company just so he can get his art out there. This is what you got to do to make it, bro. You know what I mean? This is actually when you talk about putting in the work. When you for the red pill guys out there, for the manosphere cats, you talk about putting in the work. He puts in the work every single day. You know what I mean? You got to do the work. Shout out to Rich Cooper. He's out there making it happen. Hearing no, like this guy hears no way more than he hears yes. And then when you hear yes, it's never a solid yes. It's a temporary kind of thing. It's yes, you can go to the next meeting. And then you go to the next meeting and then it's done. You know what I mean? Or, I'm gonna ask BJ to tell his story. One of his pilots, and he's back. And he's back.
How was your commercial break?
It was cool, man. I need to come up with some commercial music.
You should have played the saxophone.
I don't have one. I could, I don't.
Whatever.
Mia has like a tuba thing. And I don't, she doesn't like. I gotta buy her a trombone.
What were you talking about? I was using the restroom.
I want you to tell everybody. It was one of your pilots when they were giving you a tour. What happened on that?
Well, wait. Are we talking about going to the coroner's office?
You were like in the cart, and it was like everything was golden. They're like, this is this is that. You know what I mean? And I forget which series it was, but it was like, this is it. You've made it. You're a principal in the series. The series is picked up. Y'all in the cart rolling around the studio looking at, there's your trailer. That's where we're going to shoot the main studio over there. And this is this. And then by the end of that, if I recall, by the end of that tour, the word came down and everything got cut.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that?
It's not one I like to tell, only because we'd already shot the majority of the pilot. And so keep in mind, you're spending about a week, if it's a multicam, you're spending about a week on set. It's easiest schedule in half-hour television.
Yeah. And what's a multicam show? What's an example of multicam? Friends?
Oh, it'd be Friends. It'd be, if it's more recent-ish. I don't watch too much multicam, but Big Bang Theory. When you hear the laugh track, oftentimes that's multicam. You get those same shots. A single cam, you'll see more on location, more movement with the camera.
Okay.
That type of thing, unless it's on sticks. But we had filmed the pilot and everyone was so optimistic it's going to upfronts, and I still wasn't unemployed yet. We still had a day left, and they're taking us around. The upfronts, it didn't even matter. They were like, yeah, so it didn't get picked up. After everyone's telling me what my dream looks like. Be like, that's going to be you up there, second floor. There's going to be you over here. This is where you're going to live for the next year. And like, hey, we're going to need you off the lot.
Damn.
In so many words, like it was, but because that was the one we reshot. I shot the same pilot twice.
I remember. Yes, now I remember. Now I know exactly which one. Yeah, you're having dinner with the co-stars. Like it was like you were legends.
Great, and it was like finally all the hard work paid off. And in a way, every gig you do, it pays off. You want to crash a Honda, you want to crash a Ferrari. I feel like we crashed a Ferrari, but you still got to start over. So it reminded me of the first commercial I ever booked years before all that. Here's something you tell people new to the industry. Don't lie on your resume and don't lie in auditions, because the first commercial I ever booked was for Microsoft. And they're like, hey, your resume says you can ice skate. I'm like, totally. Of course not. But so we get there, I book it, and they're like, yeah, why don't you just go down and do a quick J hook, skid up the ice, shoot the puck. Yeah, sure. I did that. My legs come out from under me and I slide into the wall. And I was like, oh, no big deal. Let's just do that again. And then I was like, I could probably do this. And then I do it again and the same shit happens. My legs go out from under me. I slam into the wall and they're like, BJ, is there a problem here? I'm like, no, I think I can do it. He's like, I tell you what, why don't you sit over here on the bench and let's grab. So literally at a commercial, I got benched. And come to find out, here comes the production assistant and says, hey, so they found the guy that they actually want to skate. He's been bumped up to principal. You've been downgraded. And so I
Oh,
got downgraded to an extra for lying.
oh,
Don't lie on that
and
shit.
and then, dude, how much money did you lose on that?
Probably $100,000.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Hey, it's Hollywood, right? That's
you don't ice skate or juggle, then don't tell them you do.
so it says you juggle. So we're gonna give you this machete. Here's a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Nah, bro.
Good luck.
Like, I'm
Yeah,
out,
just
bro.
don't lie. I thought I could do it all, but I can't.
Man, all right, bro. So, and then like the story when like again, we don't have to use exact numbers, but when they were telling you this is it, you know what I mean? Here we go. Here's the studio. You're on that tour, and then it's like, yeah, it's over. They pulled the plug. When you look, when a person goes through that, when an actor goes through that, are they looking at possibly millions over one season?
I don't think you're going to get rich on your first season. I mean, if that's, I don't think so. You're not, especially if it's your first show.
Okay.
Of course, Matthew Perry's going to get rich on his next show, but he's already rich.
Okay.
Or Courtney Cox or whoever else. But your first season, no. But I think it depends on your contract. But I've never had this luxury yet. But you get into your second and third seasons, and you're up for renegotiation, and that's when you can start bringing it. But again, to me, it was never really about money. Like I say, I want to create an empire, but that has a lot of meanings. It's not just a financial meaning. I want to be the first person that they give scripts to. I want to be the first person that someone offers to buy a script. I want to be that's to me, being in that mix at a high level is to me an empire, because then you get a chance to make the best stuff. You know what I mean?
Is that what it is? So to you, it's really about the creativity.
Absolutely, always has been. I mean, I think if you focus on the business, when creativity meets commerce, I think that's when younger folks, including myself, that's when you start to get confused or you start to get jaded. That's what'll get you jaded, is if you let the business outcomes affect your creativity. Because eventually, if you're even half good at anything as an artist, creativity will collide with commerce. It has to happen if you want to make money. The business side of things, it's necessary. It's very uninspiring to an artist. It's very uninspiring.
So I guess that leads into my next question. So that's probably the your least favorite part of all this is when you actually have to go in and deal with the business. Does that include the pitch, or is that part of being creative?
The pitch is fun and creative. And again, lawyers and stuff deal with the business aspects, but then they're always going to call you to say, here's the updates, here's point A, and here's the back end, and here's the contingency or whatever. And it's a lot, man. Like it's all over my head. Like when our lawyer calls us, I say, can you treat me like I'm a third grader and explain what all these terms mean? Because I don't understand it. And to me, that's where it gets really, really boring. Or the reason your show didn't go, or the reason the deal's being held up is because somebody's worried about a percentage point. That the longer that goes on, it steals the fun out of it, but it is part of it.
Okay.
It's just the part I don't love.
Okay, that makes sense, and I get that too. As when I produce shows, right? You've been to,
Yeah.
yeah, you've been in my shows. I love the creative part. I love going out trying to make the best comedy show I could do. That's always been my mission. Like, what if I'm gonna do a room? I don't care if it's a bar or whatever I'm doing. I want the best show possible. Let me get the best comics. Let me get the best lineup. Let me get a good DJ. Let's get the crowd in here. But when you have to sit down with ownership, like with the owners or whatever, we got to talk numbers. We got to talk percentages. That's the part I don't like. And I find that it will drain you if you let it. So how do you deal with it?
That's a good point. I mean, I think that everyone's in the business of keeping their own job, right? So executives are like the show that we can't talk about that kind of pushed boundaries and stuff, which you will see it. But that's a passion of mine. It's a passion of my creative and business partners, Jeff and Eric and Zucker and all that. And we love it and we're not going to let it die. But there comes a point where passion, like creativity meets commerce, or passion collides with profits. Neither one of those speak the same language. And so I just try to look at it for what it is. And I think there's a thing, you've heard this from the Tony Robbins of the world. it's kind of foolish to focus on things you can't control. So,
Right.
you know, I can't control that. I can get frustrated by it, but it doesn't do me any good, really. So I just hope for the best. But I have seen some curveballs, and but I think when that happens, at first, my first pilot that didn't go, I was depressed for 6 months.
6 months.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Young actor, didn't know how to handle it. I thought my whole life was in front of me. That's the end of the world. Well, clearly it wasn't. I did 5 more after that, and they didn't go. But over that period of time, you start to realize the difference between why decisions are being made in the industry. They're not being made because of you or this or it's that. It has so many other. There's so much more dynamic to it than just you don't get to make this show now or this movie. And they have a job to do too. And I respect executives because it's not an easy job either.
Right.
It's
You
not.
gotta pick the right stuff.
Just
Unless you
like I'm
work.
putting myself out there, they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah, like the executives, you know, I mean, they have a lot of responsibility. They have to stay true to whatever stories out there. Then they gotta stay true to canon. Then they gotta
Oh yeah.
hire good talent. They gotta hire good writers. They gotta hire good actors.
Yeah.
All the studios do that except for Disney. Why do y'all keep destroying Star Wars, Disney?
I've never even seen Star Wars. I think that's where everyone's going to turn this episode off. Like
Bro.
Don had a guy on that hadn't seen Star Wars.
Bro, no. They're way mad. They're way more mad at Disney than you not having watched. Listen, they have destroyed Star Wars so bad that it's like they took the biggest group of nerds and turned them against them. They're all mad, man. Like with their pitchforks and plastic lightsabers going after Star Wars, and rightly so. I'm gonna let me get off that tangent.
All
But
good.
Disney really jacked that up. So I know everyone out there is kind of curious as to you know, like, man, we want to see Bales do something. Well, here it is.
Oh no! What are we doing here?
This is
You didn't announce this.
This is off of your YouTube channel.
Oh man, this is forever ago. This is when I first started.
Yeah, bro. So we're gonna watch this, and then you're gonna tell me
Well, we
how
don't
you
have to
feel.
watch all 5 minutes.
No, we're just gonna watch a little bit, and I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go all 5 minutes. No. We're gonna watch all 35 minutes. I got them all lined up now, but just so you can watch. I mean, I know you've seen it, but I just want to get your reaction as we're doing this. So here you guys go. Here he is, Mr. BJ Bales himself, doing work a long time ago. But this is one of my favorite campaigns of yours, bro.
It's my first gig.
This was the first one
that aired. Yeah.
PSP, huh?
You look so young.
They still look like that.
That thing morphs. That's more. Oh, it will morph. It's morphing. That morphed. It morphed. That's it. Square. Dude, you can shoot that thing. Shoot that thing. Force field. Get the force field. Get up in there and shoot that. Drop a cluster bomb. Cluster bomb. Bash the tree. No. Cluster bombs. Cluster bomb. Ugh.
Dude, get your own.
Man, I haven't seen those in a long. We could pause that. We don't need to see much more.
Dude, get your own, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. And you wound up actually doing them with Michael Strahan, right?
One with Strahan. That was the second round of them. But that dude in the commercial, the great guy, he still looks the same. I don't. But Rich Cerullo, great actor. But I'll never forget the director on that commercial, Sam Cadman. That was my first, and we did 16 spots over time.
16 spots.
Yeah, and that's when I made any amount of money in Hollywood, and that was the first thing. And then when that's the naivete of it all. Oh shit, my button came undone. When you make that kind of money, and then all of a sudden you think to this is being a young man, right? You think, well, then it just goes up from here, right? The money just keeps climbing. Well, it didn't, Don. it didn't. There's been peaks and there's been valleys.
Oh, I know this. I have been there.
You've heard it. You've seen it.
Yeah, we'll go from STK on one day, I got it, bro. The next day we're at I don't know, In and Out. What happened, Bales?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
And I
what
think,
happened?
that's the world you sign up for too. And I don't know the audience that you're attacking and stuff, but I do think it's important because I do talk to a lot of young actors. And it's just stay true to the art that you do. Yes, commercials are different. Commercials are cheesy. Let's face it. I mean, it's cheesy, but hell, man, if you can make 100,000 a year working one day, I think anybody would do it.
Like, bro, there were comics out there when we were doing it. They were getting national commercials, man. Like Ari was killing it. He had like IBM.
Ari had a ton. Kevin Christie.
Yes, Christie
one
had
of
a ton.
ZZ
He was the
had a
king of it.
couple. Yeah, they all did.
And making six figures, and in some cases maybe seven. Look at Flo
Yeah.
from what is the insurance? Is it Progressive? Like
Bill Glass. Yeah, that don't be your parents thing.
Well, that one, but there's one running now. It's a female. I forget her name, but she's like Flo. I think
Flo.
it's yes.
Yeah.
And she's made seven figures on that campaign at least.
Oh, she's made a crazy amount of money.
Now let's talk about that for a second. So if you're her, right? You pretend to be her agent for a minute. Can she get a real role in Hollywood as a serious actor?
Situation's gonna. I mean, this is a guess, right? I don't want to speak for her, or agents or anything like that. I've seen her at pilot season, but pre-pandemic. I've seen her in the waiting rooms at pilot season before. Had nice conversations, everything. I've never seen her at the callbacks. I'm not going to say that she hasn't. I've just never seen her there. But what I do know is that if she did book a pilot, I didn't hear about it. And what I do know is that none of them went to series. And I'm not saying that's because she's a world-class improviser. She's smart. One of the fastest people in town. But I think you that's the point where you can get pigeonholed. Easily.
And that's what I wanted to get at.
That's where you can, because if you have a commercial campaign like I did for Sony and we shot 16, it only ran for a year and a half, 2 years, and then I was out. So it's forgettable later. No one's pinning me to that. But she's gone on what is this, 10, 11, 12 years?
Yes.
I mean, how long? It's impressive. And that's hard for anybody to say no to that amount of regularity in Hollywood. But what I have learned and seen is I don't see her booking the shows. And I think executives are like, well, she is really talented. That's a no-brainer. She's world-class. But then they think to themselves, well, we're not trying to hand out free advertising for Progressive.
Oh.
And she's the face of it. And could anyone see her as another character? That's my guess. If I was an executive, I'd probably feel that way.
But that makes sense, though.
Yeah. But again, do you turn that gig down knowing it'd be an 11, 12, 15-year gig? She's probably made 10 million at this point. Or do you not? I don't know.
Depends on the mission, right? Like I said, I know you've turned down work.
I'll turn it down.
I know you've turned down work, but so how do you, the money just doesn't bother you? Because it's like, man, you turn something down, it's like, oh man, I could have made 10 million on that over 10 years. Shit. Or it's just like, whatever. I
don't know, man. I think it's maybe a gut thing because I'm not trying to be any type of like industry hero when I say I've turned down money, but I also don't want to be, I think Jason Sudeikis said it good. You don't want to be like a drive-through actor.
Okay.
Like the McDonald's of actors. And he said that a while back in an interview, and it resonated with me. I think if you're going to do this at all, you got to go with your gut and say, how do I live in this town long term? And a commercial gig can go away like that, and then it might prevent you from booking unless Flo or whoever else is these mainstays goes and makes their own indie and knocks it out of the park. Now they've reinvented, they've rebranded. But I think it's hard for executives to cast them.
Wow. And that makes sense. And Brother Michael's asking, BJ, were you in Sex in the City?
I'm not hot enough for that show. They didn't have me on that.
He looked too young back in the day, and now he's just too old.
Nah, they didn't ask me for that.
So, but you bring up good points, man. So do you think about, I know you think about this stuff. I'm acting like I don't know, but I got to ask for the show. When you look at Denzel Washington or a Don Cheadle or a Brad Pitt, you know what I mean? Like, Hollywood did try to typecast them at some point, but they were so committed to the art that they were like you can't pigeonhole those guys. So are you trying to do that kind of thing, or does that even not even come into your strategy?
I mean, you look at those guys like when your star power climbs, I'd imagine you obviously have the leeway to say I am or am not doing this because I am the client that keeps the lights on. I'm not the client at UTA or at Artists First with Brian Walsh and Peter Principata. Like, I don't keep the lights on, but somehow they still have this blind faith in me, which I love them for. But I'm not the client that keeps the lights on yet. But they also understand what I'm about, and I think that I was very clear about that from the beginning, with management and then later on with agency. But I was very clear about what I do and don't want. Like Brian knows, I'm not going to do Disney shows. I'm not doing Nickelodeon. I'm not going to do the zany neighbor next door on a multicamp, like a co-star. And I've done those things, but I think you do have to bet on yourself in a way that you keep graduating to the next level. Because if you go back, you could just keep living there. And then I don't want to be a working actor. I want to be an in-demand actor. And I think you do have to design that. You have to build a brand.
Yeah, you absolutely do. Because Brad Pitt could do anything he wants. He's always going to be Brad Pitt. I mean, he did that movie when he played a weird character with he was playing opposite George Clooney. I forget the name of the movie, but it's one of those really weird, eccentric movies that no one remembers. But I mean, it's Brad Pitt. He did Snatch. You know what I mean? He's done, Oceans. He's done all these things, so it doesn't matter. So they can take risk, not have to really worry about it. Whereas a newcomer, I mean, you really got to think about it, huh?
I think you do, but I also think it's what you want to do, though, because I have a million friends that post, "Hey, I'm showing up on Ozark tomorrow night," and then I watch it, and this dude turns around, he goes, "Good morning, ma'am," and he walks off. I'm like, well, you weren't really on Ozark. Like all this hype for that. To me, sometimes that delusion gets in the way, and it's good to do those co-stars, but I think you have to figure out where you want to be. And I'll say this, man, after having 6 pilots that didn't go, none of that was fucking with me really so much as I don't know if I even want to be on a network show. The laugh track. It's an easy schedule. It is. But that's why I started the company, because I thought to myself, what's the fastest way to longevity in Hollywood is building a brand that everyone knows. So, for example, Danny McBride built his own brand. Jonah Hill did it. These people have their little camps, and they built those brands doing these same types of movies. I think Seth Rogen, I think that's how you survive. I'm a big fan of King Batch. I don't know if you know who King Batch is.
No.
He's been in a couple of movies, but he's got crazy amounts of Instagram followers. We're gonna potentially partner with him on a movie, but he is steering the ship of his career. He's smart, not only talented, but he's smart. So he's willing to say no to this, yes to this, even if you lose out on money. How does this affect me long term? Because I don't want to be mad at the future me for doing something or not doing something by saying yes when I should have said no.
Right. And again, it doesn't boil down to money. So you're not, well, so many people go in there like, oh, I just want to get this bread. And you get the money, but now you're stuck. There's no more growth. That's it. That's where you live.
Yeah, I think you just have to be conscious of it. It's not bad to do a co-star and a guest star, because I've done them and you should do them. But I think you have to figure out where you want to. I think you should always be graduating to that next level and push yourself to that spot. Be willing to cut the net on things that you've done before. Enough of that. Now I've graduated to here, and make that promise to yourself.
Bro, Rook's in the house. What's good, brother? Hey,
what's going on, man?
Yeah, Rook, solid advice, build a brand. What's up, BJ? Rook is
out, dude? It's been a minute.
He is storm chasing right now. Rook, don't get sucked up by a tornado because you're watching this, man. We appreciate the support.
Rook, what does everybody say? Don't text and chase tornadoes.
Exactly. Yeah,
don't do that.
But y'all,
medicine.
That's it. And y'all know Rook, man. He's been nice enough to bless me with a couple episodes. We go into it. Last time we were talking about the black pharaohs, and then we were talking about Egypt in the 25th dynasty, which was all black folks. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to technology. So once a month, Rook is going to jump on. Next time we get on, we're going to talk about female warriors. We're going to talk about the Amazons. We're going to talk about the warrior maidens of the Vikings. He's going to be talking about the ancient female warriors, and I'm going to be talking about more current female warriors and what's going on out there.
I'm going to tune into that one.
And Rook's like, yeah, storm chasing now. Yeah, he's probably like one hand on the steering wheel. And he's like texting with the other hand. There's like a tornado right there. People are screaming and peeing themselves. It's great.
Smartest, wildest, craziest dude I ever met.
He is the man. We need to get together. We need to go to a state that likes tannerite. We need to get the tannerite out again.
Or just bring it out and, act first, beg for forgiveness later.
Oh, no, see, I'll go to jail. Y'all will be good.
Yeah, I'll be all right. You'll go to jail.
Yeah, but I'll go to jail. So we got a
background too. That's not good.
Rook wants to know if you're still in Colorado.
Nah, back in LA, man.
Back in LA, making it happen.
Gotta kick it. Let's go the Wild West shootout soon,
bro. I got the stuff. You know what I mean? I got a little bit of everything. Not almost as much as Rook. Almost, I'm getting there. And Rook is telling me to check my phone, show BJ the pick. All right, bet I'll do it.
Maybe not on the podcast though. I don't know what this pick is.
Oh yeah. I definitely give it to him. I'll show it to him after we stop.
I don't know what it is.
And yeah, man, and people showing love for Rook, man, because like I said, oh, Miss AKA lady, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Love on a Sunday. I know you got stuff going on. Talking to my buddy BJ Bales. We're talking more about Hollywood. And BJ, he is not only is he an actor, writer, producer, but he also has his own production company, and he works with some amazing cats. So let's talk about Big Smitch, bro. Did you want to give the full thing? You want to talk about Schmitty, or we want to just go into?
Sure.
So let's talk about how that came about, bro.
Yeah, the production company was in a way out of necessity, just because the industry kind of changed so fast, and it was like such a lack of opportunities around 2014, which unfortunately is the same year that, and I know you met Smitty, but like my best friend from childhood died of an overdose, and one of the funniest people I've ever met. And it's Don, don't you think this? I'm curious if you think this. The funniest people I've ever met are my friends who have no ability to perform. Honestly.
Absolutely. Because it's pure. Everything. It's pure. They're not trying to make you laugh. They're just being themselves.
Folks around, right?
Like, dude, the one time I've only made you cry with laughter once. And it was what line was it that I made you cry?
Well, I'm not going to say it.
Why not?
But because I'm not. Nah.
Enough brown liquor.
No, I know, I get it.
But I made this. I'm not gonna paint the picture as to what was going on, but BJ pointed out something to me. I look and I make this comment about enough brown liquor, and it goes on. Maybe one day when I finally start a Patreon, I'll do it on a Patreon. You'll have to join Patreon to hear, because that's when it'll be no holds barred. Like that's what
really. I wrote that line into a script that we're going to be filming to the movie we can't mention. I don't want to sound like that type of person, but you're the one saying that line. So if you choose,
I gotta say that line. I'm gonna save it.
You're the one that said it. So if you say I can't use it, I won't use it. But back to
you can absolutely use it.
With the production company. It was, Smitty died of an overdose, and I was so depressed, and already the industry had me depressed and all this. And then I reached out to Jeff Howard. I reached out to Eric, and I said, enough of waiting around for opportunities. Let's create our own. But I think we're going to need an investor for this. And then Jeff reached out to his childhood friend, which is Jeffrey Zucker. I've become very, very close with him. And we created a funded production company, and we started making these short form sizzle reels, call them trailers for people watching it. It's effectively a trailer of your project. And then we would send this to our agents and managers along with the script. And then we magically started getting pitch meetings. And when I say put your career in your own hands, I really do think that that's what anybody should be doing. You're an irresponsible artist if you're not doing it, I think.
Right.
Because I was so irresponsible for so long. And I thought to myself, why wasn't I doing this earlier? And it paid dividends doing
Right.
it.
Even though the work is 10 times harder, and even though there's so much more riding on it.
But it's almost, man, when you give birth to something, I'm sure it's the same way women feel when they give birth to a kid or a father sees his kid. But like when you give birth to something, you got so much more pride in it than you do reading someone else's lines in an audition lobby. Like there's something to it. You see it through beginning, middle, and end. And there's something special about it. And that's what reminded me why I do it. And that's the thing, like, there's been so many years where I lost sight of why I was doing this. And that's something I would tell newer artists. Don't lose sight of why you do it, because you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get your ass kicked, but just don't lose sight of why you're doing it.
Man. And again, putting in the work, taking risks, man. I was in Miami. Like I said, there was a big conference down there, and they're billionaires down there, right? These guys, financial guys, or real estate guys, a couple legit billionaires. Everyone else is like millions. Like they're up there doing their thing, and they all said the same thing. All these entrepreneurs, they're like, bro, you cannot be afraid to take that leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things they always say is you must invest in yourself.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you're doing. So when you put together this team, so how did that come about? Like you said all the names, but no one knows who's doing what.
I mean, maybe the best team is going to be surrounding yourself with people that make up for your lack of info or your flaws. So like if I'm good at one thing but not another, now I gotta lean on a guy like Eric. Or I got to lean on a guy like Jeff. And so I think that if you can find people that complement your flaws or your lack of ability, but you complement theirs too, then you round it out. Because not everybody's going to do everything. That's unless you're Elon Musk or somebody that's like completely stupid as far as like thinking they can do everything and then they're just going to full on burn out. But I think that you just surround yourself with people and create departments, I think is what we did. And we didn't even know we did it. We just thought maybe everybody's going to be, Eric will be good at running the business. He's also a creative. Zucker will be good at creative. Plus he understands how to move money around. Jeff and I will write these projects and we'll go pitch them because we're performers. And there's still holes in this process. But I think we created a pretty well-rounded team.
And that's what's up, bro. And one thing I do notice about Big Schmitz, whenever I come to the set, no matter what we're working on, and it's been a few projects that I've been happy, and proud to be a part of at this point. It's the same people. I notice you work with the same. When I'm talking about ADs, the gaffers,
ADs, DPs, lighting, grid,
lighting. Yeah. Even down to
we
extras.
Like
I noticed the same extras keep coming back.
We operate on we've always talked about transparency as a company, but we also like to we want everyone to be along for the ride. And like people like you, Don, like you're at the upper echelon of the inner circle with all of us. But even people that aren't in the inner circle, like you and others, like people that aren't in it, we want to show loyalty to. Like you believed in us in the beginning. So we want to keep offering opportunities. I mean, you're always going to have a seat at the table. That's an automatic. But people that aren't in the inner circle, we still want to show love to and say, you believed in us when we did nothing. So we'd like to have you be a part of this that has become potentially something. Right. And I think there's no better way to go to work every day than working with people that you like working with. That's the shit.
And I can say that about the set. And again, like I know we're in the weeds here for those the West Coast folks who will watch this will really appreciate it. Every set I've been on has not been good. Like all of the Big Schmitz ones, great. But I've been to some other sets, bro, where it was just a headache. Absolute headache, bro. You know what I mean? And but whenever we do something, it's always fun, bro. And what comes to mind was we were at my house, man, with your homie Skeezy. Skeezy,
Ain't
boy.
easy being skeezy. Believe me,
Bro.
that
But
dude.
man, so what was your best experience, man? Like complete experience outside of Big Smiths when you were out there doing your thing. Like what? Like was there one in like any project that stood out to you? Like man, that was the best time I ever had. Because we saw one of your first projects you ever did with that.
Sure.
Was there anything out there?
I I would say there's this. It's messed up to talk about all these pilots that didn't go to series because everyone's like, what's he talking about? But I think your first one's always going to be your most favorite. So my first pilot was the most memorable. The series regular pilot. You guest stars and things like those pay bills, but you know they add to your reel. But to get cast as a series regular for the first time was something, and it was a multicam, but it was with CBS and Sony, and I really shouldn't have booked this role, but I went all out for this character in the initial audition. I dressed up as the character. Like I all the way through studio read, producer reads, studio reads, network reads. I had this whole outfit and things, and maybe I don't recommend that to other people now, but it was a little costumey, but it got me the role, so maybe it does work. But I should have never got past the initial casting call, which was, and that's why I got tons of love in my heart for a casting director named Julie Ashton. And she knows I got a special place in my heart for her because she gave me my first pilot and she changed my life. She
Wow.
changed my life.
Off that one role.
Yeah. And even though it didn't go to series, like I said, you want to crash a Honda or crash a Ferrari. We crashed a Ferrari at Sony and CBS, but that led to the rest of those roles down the road. And she bet on me when she shouldn't have. And if I can ever, one of these days, if I can ever pay her back in whatever way is useful to her, I will.
All right, shout out to her, man. So Miss AK lady, taking risks in this economy sounds like jumping out of a plane and building and parachute before you land. LOL. Well, I've never jumped out of a building, but I've definitely jumped out of airplanes. So, hey, look, you know I'm all about it.
You got to take risks.
Right, I mean, jumping out of a plane and building a parachute before you land. Oh, that's what you're saying. Jumping out of a plane and building the parachute before you land. Hey, it's all good.
I think act first, ask questions later. I think that's the entertainment business. You have to just go. That's to say, just go with your gut.
And here's the thing, Miss AK. I know it sounds scary, but all of the entrepreneurs I know, they all took risks. They took massive risks. And then, some of them fell on their face, but a few of them went on to become billionaires. I mean, you look at all the top dogs out there, all the top men and women out there, the top earners, they took a risk. Jeff Bezos took a risk.
Oh, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
You're so right, man.
PBD took a risk. You know what I mean? Zucker's taking a risk. People take risks all the time.
If you sat down with anybody that's hyper successful right now, call it Oprah Winfrey or call it Denzel Washington or Elon Musk or whoever you want to list on these clearly successful folks. I guarantee if they were to sit down with you on this podcast, they would tell you how many times they lost to get to where they're at. They failed repeatedly, and it sounds cheesy and cliche, but that is why they win.
It is why they win. How many times? Like George Clooney had a bunch of pilots that didn't go.
He did 11, I think.
11 before
11 failed pilots before he was on. Was it ER?
Yes, ER.
And I know those stories go around and around. So I've heard 11. I've heard different numbers, but I know it was enough for him to want to suck on a 45, and he didn't. He pushed through, man. I agree with Michael. I do agree with that.
You must fail before you succeed. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing though, with those failures, in my opinion, again, like I don't mean to blab on, but like people always say, learn from your failures, but you can hear that. But once you experience it, you're actually listening. Once you're in the middle of losing, you're now actively listening to how to fix it.
And that makes sense. I'm trying to, like, Rook sent me a picture. It's a cool picture. We got to show it. I want to find it, and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, but I got to find the picture and then share. I got to find it. It's technology, Bales. I'm not as good as you, bro. It just takes me time.
I was worried if I was clicking on the link right, man. I mean, I screw up Zooms every day with powerful people.
I'm like,
Zoom
right there. So I'm like, just give me a second to find this.
I'll take your time, man. You do that, I'll grab a beer.
Yeah, there you go. Grab a
Yeah,
beer,
okay.
and
Did Brooks send a storm picture, a tornado?
he sure did, and it's amazing. And I even had a troll in there. I had to kick him out. I had a troll in the chat
In a good way.
talking crazy, which is cool. Thanks for trolling. Appreciate it.
Who's talking crazy?
I got rid of them already. Some person I never heard
What
of.
are they saying?
I mean, it wasn't, just they didn't, like what they were saying. They were saying we need to go out and holler at women, which, that's what trolls say. And it was probably, I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm just gonna let it go. I was told not to shove people into lockers, so I'm not gonna shove the troll into a locker. You know what I mean?
I don't care.
And then and Miss AK lady, I'm risk averse, so I'm an entrepreneur with a corporate job. I respect anyone who really goes all in. Culture moves forward because of risk takers. Yeah, that's what's up. So,
Miss AKA lady. Yeah.
Miss AK lady is amazing.
All right with me.
Yeah, that's my people right there, bro. She's out here in Central Florida, making things happen. And I think I have the picture. Nope. And then Bales, when we're over,
Yeah.
don't go away right away, because there's some stuff I need to show you when we go off camera. Stuff I can't show everybody else, like I said. And there it is.
Rook took that.
Rook's out there chasing storms, and
I guess he's in the Midwest right now.
Yeah, he's back there where we're from. But look at that. That's
Tornado
beautiful.
Alley.
And when Rook's on the show again, he'll tell us exactly what we're looking at. But man, look at that. He's probably driving and he got that shot.
That's nice. He's got the wheat in the foreground, all this.
All that, bro. Like I said, dude,
he's so talented.
Rook was taking pictures the old school way with the exposure. You had to move the thing. He had like the old school boxy camera thing. He had to put the little filter thing in and take it out. He was doing that.
Man, I mean, I've seen him with the old timey camera, but I know he has his DSLRs and all that. But that dude, I don't think there's anything he really can't master if he pays attention to it.
That's real talk.
Smart
That's
dude.
real talk. So,
Dude.
So yeah, bro. Thanks again for jumping on with me, man. Like we're just gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna give you final thoughts here in a second, and then I'm looking forward to actually getting the entire Big Smiths team on. I think I'm gonna wait till after everything's done so we can at least have a trailer to show, which would be amazing. You know what I mean? And as always, bro, just hit me up. I'm there. And
I'll come to your part of the world soon, man. It's been too long. We gotta throw a cold one back, but I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always good to see family.
Absolutely, man. Brother Mike was like, we just move on after trolls give them no attention. That's right. They get no gas over here.
We don't care.
So yeah, man, what are your final thoughts, bro, for anyone who's thinking about breaking into the biz?
I mean, again, it all comes from my experience. Like every finish line is kind of a starting point in this industry. So just when you think you got somewhere, then you have to do a little self-assessment and say, what's it going to take to get to the next spot? But my dream's always been to see how far can I take this thing. So I think that when you come out here, you do it in reasonable chunks. You do it in reasonable pockets. Don't be in a hurry to get an agent. Be in a hurry to hone your craft, whatever that is. If you want to be an actor, but I would say this is what I tell people. I've spoken at a couple of colleges before just to help these kids that are about to go into Hollywood. And I would honestly say, don't limit yourself to one thing. If you want to be an actor, go take a writing class. If you want to be a director, go take an acting and a writing class. If you want to be a writer, take an acting class. If you thought you'd never do stand-up in your life, go do stand-up. And you don't have to be a pro at all of it, but I think that everything informs everything. My acting informs my writing informs my acting. Everything informs everything. And that being said, now you're being a part of the community. And that is truly these days how you're going to get your agent, is because someone referred you. You're going to get this audition. You're going to get this next thing, or say, hey, we're filming a pilot. Get involved in the community. Last point, Don, there's going to come a point, expect to get your ass kicked, expect it. And then when you do, just realize that the business can take so much from you. They can take away the role. They can take away this. But if you're an actor or you're a performer, and I try to remind myself of this, it's like athletes after having a bad game to get back to fundamentals. The industry can't stop you from having fun. So just go have fun. Have fun in those rooms. Make it your room. Make it your stage. Whatever it is, they can't stop you from the fundamentals of having fun and why you started it. That's what I would say.
And that's real talk right there, man, because that's the reason I still do stand up. That's the reason I write. That's the reason I do all these things. It's because it's fun. If it's not fun, why even try to do it?
That's when the business gets in the way and you kind of gauging yourself on where you're at or where you're not, and that's silly. But and the last thing I would say is I hear a lot of people talk. We talked about this before, Don, but people say, I'm living the dream or I'm pursuing my dream. If you can, your mindset to me is everything. And I'm not trying to be Tony Robbins, but this has helped me. Instead of saying it's a dream, call it your decision. And it's helped my mental shift. Because nobody says it's my dream to go put hubcaps on a Buick. You make a decision to go get that job. And maybe it is your dream. But I'm saying switch that from dream to decision, and you'd be surprised what unfolds. It's happened to me. Your mindset, just that tiny shift.
Wow, that's what's up. Miss AKA A-Lady says that's good advice. Rook, really good insight from years of experience from a solid, resilient, talented guy. Wish I was able to see this entire interview. Let's all grab brews soon. Absolutely,
Definitely
man.
grab yours.
I say we grab them. Yeah, I say we grab them in Miami. But I'll come to
Do it in
LA.
Miami. Rook, it's happening in Miami.
And I'll take care of it. Trust me. I'll get us a spot. It'll be great. We're gonna have a
Rook
good time.
right now spun up inside of a tornado texting.
That's it. He's fine. He's fine.
Thanks, Beck.
He's fine.
Don, thanks for having me on this, brother. I love you, man.
Hey, thanks for being there, man. Don't go anywhere. Thanks to everyone who was hanging out with us. Brother Rook, absolutely. Brother Michael, Miss AKA Lady, Brother Jason was in the house. It was a random Sunday. I popped on. Shout out and thanks to Needs Watches. Yo, that's BJ Bales, Big Smitch Entertainment. I'm DL Saint. This is the DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.